That is the sound of a distracted, divided, and dead American until they hear. Battle for Freedom, triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Hello everyone, I'm your host Watson Prene from Battle for Freedom on Mojo5 Radio, and I'm glad that you're joining me on, oh wow, this is the first full week we're about to endure of June. Yes, I'm saying the first full week to endure of June. Yes, I know. A lot of us, we're just still trying to wake up. We're still trying to get today and our brains together. And so am I. I'm your host, Watson Prene from Battle for Freedom and Mojo5 Radio, and I appreciate every last one of you. If you're listening online at Mojo5 Radio, you probably just finished listening to, Defending 2A with Jason Gouffre. He's one of the many hosts that you can listen to and enjoy on this amazing network called Mojo5 Radio. Go to mojo50.com/schedule. And you can see all the different hosts that you can listen to. My website, battle4freedom.com. But if you want to interact today, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go to facebook.com/Mojo5 Radio, like I see Curtis, Amy, Linda, and Carolyn have done today. As we sit here and just having a different, interesting conversation called Rising Retaliations, the medical and social castrations of conscience. So the reason why I talk about this is because of the fact that we're going to go through a series of events. Just to basically get you up to speed with what's taking place in our society that just doesn't seem like it should be happening, but it really is. It's a result of a lot of different things that we've orchestrated or we've put into motion years, decades, centuries ago, of our rebellion against God, our rebellion against common sense, and we're sitting here trying to figure out why has society devolved so much. So it's meant for society to devolve in the way that it does. I see Lep has joined. Thank you for joining, Lep, and for being part of this and being part of this program here. So this whole idea of talking about rising retaliations, and it's funny because of the fact that I saw this post this morning. I love waking up to funny posts that just really get me going. Speaking of getting you going, have you had your American Pride Roasters coffee yet?
That's it. I've hit the snooze button a dozen times, and now I have to finally get going. But I'm not going to do this day right if I don't start it off with a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo5 Radio. But I'm not going to lie to you. They have a wide variety of blends, but I'm leaning towards the one that's named after me, Watson's White Chocolate Caramel. You know what? It sounds as good as those words that just rolled off of my mouth. Listen, get it today. AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Tell them that Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you, and you want Watson's White Chocolate Caramel blend to start your day off. Join American Pride Roasters Coffee and Mojo5 Radio, and most important, Battle for Freedom, as we celebrate the best coffee in the nation. American Pride Roasters.
Yes, American Pride Roasters, share it out with as many people as you possibly can. And for those who haven't woken up yet, may I consider that you need to, maybe you're probably still in your dream state. You're still in your dream state and you have to recover. You need some healing. Let's talk about some New Life Holistic. Sorry.
Does your mind seem like it often shuts down before it even starts? Sounds like you need to detox to improve your health in body, mind, and spirit. I'd like to tell you about New Life Holistic. It is an amazing therapy process that uses neurofeedback and biofeedback for many issues that ails everyone. New Life's method and approach to health, balance, energy, and vitality is what sets it apart from anything you have experienced ever before. Call 1-833-4-BIO-LIFE and tell them Watson from Battle for Freedom has sent you. One more thing. Give them the code MOJO50 and save $50 off of your first session. The consult is free. New Life Holistic.
Yes, New Life Holistic, everyone. Good morning, Carrie. Thanks for joining as well. Yeah, you already said, Linda, thank you for being part of this program. So as we sit here talking about this thing and we get into, again, you see these wonderful quotes that comes out from your friends earlier in the day And I saw this one this morning. Let me share this with you. I saw with a friend who shared this. Is this the right one? Yes, this is the right one here. It says, war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. So Yug was sharing something from a quote from the theory and practice of oligarchical collectivism. And I love this because the fact is we see our country ruled and ruined by a select few who are the ones. See, everybody keeps thinking it's just the people who are in government that's ruining everything. It's not just the people who are in the government who are ruining everything. It's even the people on the streets. It's even the people who are destroying our communities. See, if the greater part of America are law-abiding citizens, America would be far worse if the people destroying everything represented the majority of the people in the country. And it's very interesting, again, how a small minority can make and change the nature and face of a country so quickly. It's so interesting that how focus groups can actually change the nature and focus of a company or a country so quickly. And so, and a reason why I say this, and I love the, I see, there's a word that we normally do not hear a lot, and I love it, which was in the phrase, good morning, Kathy, thanks for joining, is the idea of an oligarchy. And a lot of you don't hear it, or sometimes when you hear that term, you're like, oh, you're one of those conspiracy theorists, and you got to sit there talking about you hate government and everything like that. But let me define, let me define oligarchy for you so you can understand. Now, this is according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Oligarchy. First definition of oligarchy is a government by the few. And in their example, they say that a corporation is ruled by an oligarchy. Number two, a government in which a small group exercises control, especially for corrupt and selfish purposes. See, this is the thing about it, where this is where there's the danger, where everyone keeps saying that they want a democracy. Good morning, Kathy. They say that they want a democracy where majority rules. The problem is, what do you do when you're dealing with an oligarchy? Because even what they use the term democracy, the majority rules, but it's not the case in every society, because of the fact that even in a socialistic and communistic society where 90 to 95%, or even close as high as 97% of the people who are supposed to represent the greater populace, they're not the ones making the final decisions. They're not the ones who are sitting here basically saying what our elected officials should look like. Yeah, we go to the voting booths and everything like that, but look what just happened in the previous election, that supposedly 81 million people voted for Joe Biden. Allegedly. So when we sit here talking about how is it possible that election fraud and so much more can take places, we have set up this system, and it's always existed for so long, where systems have been put in place that the few are the ones who are managing, directing, controlling the majority. So when a focus group wants more attention than the other, they cry foul, they cry wolf, they cry whatever they need to, they burn stuff down. If it means getting attention and getting control. It's just the way that things happen. Yes, Kathy, that is exactly right. Democracy is mob mentality, period. And see, that's the crazy part about it, is because the mob is, and that's the crazy part about it when you think about this. The mob is not the majority as we think. The mob would be the what's the word for this? The zombies moving under the direction of the master controller. See, that there are people who are in the background using their skills to manipulate and manipulate people and move them emotionally and illogically to go and destroy stuff. So here it is. We're watching this thing work itself out, destroying lives. It sounds a bit like narcissism. Yes, it does. But they say, but we're here for you. We're here to represent you. Yeah. Alrighty then. Alrighty then. I don't think so. But I thought that was a very interesting link to see from Yug. I really appreciate it. There's another one I'm going to share with you after we come back from the break because it's still good. Let's get into some of the oligarchies. I'm sorry. Let's get into some of the rising retaliations and enjoy this. So how many of you have heard about the whole idea that Mark Zuckerberg is caught on camera bashing leakers who expose social media giant censorship of users concerned about COVID vaccine? Last month, Morgan Kamen, a former data center technician and another Facebook worker, anonymously revealed documents to Project Veritas. Those documents allegedly show a beta version of a Facebook algorithm targeting anti-vaxxers. Now another insider has come forward to Project Veritas with a video showing Zuckerberg prioritizing punishing leakers over acknowledging censorship. See, now, in corporate policy in corporate America, free cheese for rats, snap, gag, gag, gag. You were hilarious. You're hilarious, Amy. Oh, yeah, and Kathy says, it's for the children. This is the reason why we're going to do this. Well, look at this, though. Zuckerberg is busted for punishing and wanting to punish leakers. Now, in corporate America, as I was saying earlier, there is a policy of anti-retaliation. That, when you report things that are done wrong, well, at least in the corporation that I work for, in the company I work for, there's a policy that says that if you see something wrong, report it. And there won't be retaliation against you and retaliation against you will not be permitted. But what do you do when the people who are in leadership are the ones who are retaliating against you? Huh? Do you remember how everybody was angry when Donald Trump would retaliate against alleged people who would have information against him? You remember how they said that he threatened all the witnesses that were going against Brett Kavanaugh? How everybody was up in arms. Where's the outrage about what Mark Zuckerberg, caught on camera, is doing here? Mark Zuckerberg is actually willing to sit there and punish. Now, this is supposed to be Facebook. This is supposed to be this corporation that, we don't discriminate. We don't do all these other different things. But hey, that whole little policy about retaliating against people who call out wrong, why isn't that policy of conscience implemented in Facebook? So rather than actually talk about the fact that, oh yeah, you're busted for the censorship, oh, no, we're going to punish those. It's very interesting because you remember how the media and Facebook and and Twitter love the idea of every time someone had leaked some information about the Trump administration? Oh, yes, Kathy, is definitely a quid pro quo and a human resources nightmare. Most definitely. And there's no way around it. You have put yourself in a position where you allege to be one of the most freest and thought-provoking organizations and companies in the world. And I'm wondering when the woke people who will get out of the yoke of ignorance, who will actually wake up and say that this is unacceptable behavior. But I find it very interesting. Busted. And he's prioritizing punishing people. But I want to go a little bit further because there's a reason why a lot of this is taking place right now. You have to understand that the language in our culture today, the oligarchical language of the few running the masses, makes it creates a hostile environment. And the yoke of woke. Good morning, Renee. Thanks for joining. This is one story I found very interesting because you know how much I can't stand critical race theory. A lot of the stuff that we're watching right now, a lot of the rising tensions and retaliations that we're seeing right now has been a product of liberation theology, critical race theory, wokeness. And, this is yoke of woke, new band, that's good. This is very interesting on this next story. Very troubling. Very troubling indeed. They make my blood boil. New York psychiatrist tells woke Yale University panel she fantasizes about shooting dead white people during a talk entitled The Psychopathic Problem of the White Mind. Dr. Aruna Kilanani, who is a psychiatrist and a psychoanalyst, delivered the talk virtually to Yale University medical students and faculty back in April. She was invited by Yale's School of Medicine's Child Study Center. Audio of the 50-minute talk was published on journalist Barry Weiss's Substack blog on Friday. She made a series of stunning comments during her talk that involved, during her talk that was largely based on the psychology behind whiteness. She made a series of stunning comments, and Kalani said she fantasized about unloading a revolver into the head of any white person who got in her way. And she went on to say that white people feel they are being bullied when people of color bring up race. And at the various points, she described white people as being out of their minds and said that they make her blood boil. Now, I want you to see that this is the person on the left-hand side and the right person. These are the doctors. These are the people that we say follow their science. These are the people that we follow who say that they know better than us. They've gone to Yale. They should be heard. They should be listened to. This is very scary. This is very, because by law, this person will be a psycho killer. At this point, if the FBI is not monitoring her and someone ends up dead, she's gone out and said, and understand this too. This is the part that you don't seem to understand. We're setting our, let me see exactly how much this is. I want to see what this is. I gotta check this out. Let's see. Tuition, Yale University is from 2019 to 2020. The cost of going to Yale University is $55,500 a year. Okay? A year. So you're going to pay your kids, or you're going to take a mortgage out on your house, or you're going to let your child go into debt. See, when we sit here and tell you about the dangers and the nastiness and the wickedness and the psychobabblists, the new term from Kathy, is when we sit there and we send our kids to these schools, because as our kids are listening to this stuff, how much of the stuff are they in a suggestive state? That how many kids who were participating, and see, you remember last week when the FBI wanted to know all the people who were reading a story about a leak and everything like that, or how they handle the case, but the FBI won't sit here and get a recording of all the people who were sitting there watching and listening to this video, because I bet you for certain that one of those kids will probably end up being a mass shooter. One of those kids, they could be even white. They could even be white. Word that I got from Raquel Lee from Room 13 with Eric Miller. Check them out. You can either check them out on Thursday mornings at 6 a.m. or you can check them out on Saturdays. But here it is. We're indoctrinating killers. We're indoctrinating killers, and as you see here, you're watching this stuff, and I mean, literally, her words, and she's sitting there talking about the psychology behind whiteness while sounding the very evil that she's trying to talk about. She wants to shoot them in the head? Folks, if you are sending your kids to Yale, if you're spending $55,000 or near $56,000 a year for this kind of dribble, give me $5,500 and I can give your kids a better education than what you're going to get at this place here. This is what happens, because make no mistake, a lot of those children, I bet you for certain, this isn't the only time this message has gone out. This is just the first time it's been caught. This message has been going out for a long time. They probably haven't been as expressive, but in a woke culture, in a critical race theory angry culture, it's much easier to sit here and talk about this stuff. So it lends us to our next, I can't look at that evil face anymore. She looks possessed. And lends us to the next story. 300-pound topless man is filmed walking up to a stranger in an LA gas station before punching her 12 times, pulling her hair, and body slamming her to the ground. Police are searching for a 300-pound man caught on surveillance, and an update, he has been arrested. But this black man decides to, she says she doesn't even know who the suspect was. She doesn't even have a relationship with him. But this black man, 300 pounds, gets out of his car and decides to start beating up on this woman. And this is what's happening more and more frequently because of wokeness. So he didn't have a gun to put towards her head. He just used his fists. He just decided to use his body, his weight, and so much more to attack over and over again. See, when a lot of you people say that I'm living in fear, worried about what's going to happen to my wife, folks, this is it. And a lot of you whites who are sitting here pushing the critical race theory, who are pushing woke theology, who are pushing liberation theology, who are pushing Black Lives Matter in your church, this is what you are empowering. This is what you are enabling. This is what you will experience at the hands of the very victims you say you are trying to protect and you're trying to be a representative of. You are representing an oligarchy, a minority of individuals, no pun intended, who are set on destroying the landscape of America, the landscape of liberty, and the landscape of life. It's not just relegated to a color. It's not just relegated to a gender. It's not relegated to just to sexual identity. And it's not just relegated just to politicians. We have a face of this that's just a nightmare. And I'm telling you, this is not going to go well. I'm just really saddened by the fact that we keep going over and over and over again, and we keep thinking that this isn't going to catch up to us. I'm letting you know it is. Wake up. Wake up now, or be a victim of the very nonsense you've been supporting for so long. Oh, Lord Jesus. Yep. My titles were completely off. I'm just trying to understand this thing because it just doesn't make sense. How is it that we are still here? Yes, Carolyn, our world is full of hate and discontent. And it's snowballing. You're right. And that's so funny, Carolyn. You say she needs a psychiatrist, and she is the psychiatrist. Who needs a psychiatrist? So there's a TV series there's a series on Netflix called Jupiter's Legacy. And I'm just going to spoil this for you because there's this one scene where one of the heroes is struggling to make sense as to why things are falling apart, trying to understand what is he doing wrong. And he sits there, and his psychologist, his shrink, is some brilliant megalomaniac who spent most of his life trying to kill him. And I think that even as, what's the other thing? Oh, Batwoman that comes on the CW, very woke in this series, that you have a lot of the psychopaths are the very doctors who are supposed to help you. Because, oh my goodness. We remember last week when I talked about the Arkham Asylum people are let loose? They're loose. They're in our country, and they're tearing it down. Let's go back to a quick review on one of my older commercials. Talk to you on the flip side.
And now, homeschooling with Watson.
Okay, now it's time to quiet down.
Daddy's in the backyard. He left his phone now.
Time for class.
Aww.
Simmer down.
Okay, Daddy.
Okay, so let's get into the lesson.
Daddy,
Yes, sweetie.
why aren't you playing those funny songs on your break anymore? Awkward.
Because those commie Nazis of big tech have nothing better to do than harass people like me.
Whoa. Triggered.
Yes, Olive. What do you want to ask me?
What's a commie Nazi? Triggered.
It's when the totalitarians of the Progressive Democrat Party are aggressively destroying our country.
Did you have too much American Pride Roasters coffee, Daddy? Daddy?
Yes, sweetie.
What's a totalitarian? What's a totalitarian?
It's power-hungry people making really bad rules that they will not follow themselves.
Isn't that what you tell us happens with big government?
Yes! Exactly! You make me want to cry.
Aww. We love you, Daddy. We love you, Daddy.
I love you too. Now, where were we?
Government back. God good. Amen. Hallelujah.
I love being a dad. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prenate from Battle4Freedom on Mojo 50 Radio, and I appreciate every last one of you. Today, we're just talking about this whole idea of rising retaliations. I'm trying to be very animated on what I sit there talking about. You know, the what is it? The medical and the social and castrations of conscience. The reason why I'm saying this is because of the fact that we have run into this situation here where we're trying to make sense as to why is it that society is so crazy. Over the weekend, not even over the weekend, over the break, you have, people, Linda, saying Baltimore has had so many shootings lately that I've lost count. Let's see, you've had Carrie saying it's crazy here in Orlando too. Teenagers with guns and angry. Linda, there's been two shootings that I know of that have been within a mile of my house. Here in Indiana, we have shootings. Of course, we know the Chicagos and all those other different places, but you have to understand, how is it that we have this level of, like, the violence? It's not just it wasn't just an uptick. I mean, it's just a straight, like, shoot to the moon on the level of violence that's taking place in our society right now, that you have to sit there and you have to wonder what in the world is going on here. I've got to go back to another Yug moment here, because again, just really appreciating the stuff. This is something he said last week and I forgot to bring it in here, but I like this one here. He says, never confuse or fuse accuracy with acrimony. So you're like, oh my goodness, what's with these big words? It's too early. I haven't had my American Pride Roasters coffee yet, Watson. Just let me think, let me breathe. Definition of acrimony from Merriam-Webster's, just to help you. Anger and bitterness, or harsh or biting sharpness, especially of words, manners, or feelings. Think about this. That supposedly last year, burning down cities. Let me see if I can help you understand this. Last year, burning down cities was the means of fixing the social woes in America. Let's see, walking around butt naked on the streets, basically saying that you want to end the objectification of women walking around naked. robbing, stealing, getting in people's faces while they're trying to eat and dine. People who have not committed acts of racism, hatred, or all the other acts of violence against blacks, minorities, gays, whomever, that you turn around and you decide that you want to interrupt them. Because somehow, some way, your violence, your anger, your bitterness with words, manner, and feelings, is your way of getting your point across that your woes, your pains have a right to be heard, and whatever measures are taken to bring it about, we're going to make this happen. Talk about rising retaliations. And it's happening more and more. I bet you that black 300-pound black man who attacked that woman is probably part of the people who believe that they are victims of society rather than realizing that they have created themselves and they have self-imploded because of bad ideology and doctrines like critical race theory and so much more. Yes, Kathy says, your truth is not my truth, and vice versa. With that said, not everything is reality either. Is Yug a listener? Just curious. No, Yug is, I don't know if Yug listens to the program, but Yug shares a lot of great things. He speaks a lot in parable, and he's a pastor that I really appreciate. That's on the west coast of Indiana. And, just the stuff that he shares is just great. He likes to speak in parables because sometimes they're just the plain stuff that I try and say. People are like, what are you talking about, Watson? Now, not many of you who are listening right now, but there are other people that he shares stuff that even when he makes it plain, people, for some strange reason, get very bitter at the words that he says. I think I'm going to have to start speaking in parables too, because of the fact that some days it just feels like I'm just giving basic truth, and the level of violence and malevolence is just crazy. Uh-oh, Chim joined.
Triggered.
Oh, good morning, Tim. Thanks for joining, bro. Truth is truth. And it's very important that we understand that there's a lot of lies and manipulation going on, and it's destroying people. And it's being told, but it's being presented as truth in the midst of my violence. This is the truth. Listen, if your truth is so true, we shouldn't have to fight so hard to share the truth. I mean, seriously, you have to understand. Here it is. This whole battle of us being censored, right? Because remember, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all censoring people who share data about COVID or election fraud or whatever, okay? Or your concerns about vaccines. And everybody keeps thinking, okay, well, we have no other means of doing this, getting this information out, because Facebook and Twitter and all these other different places are censoring us. I would dare say that there's a major flaw in your ideology if you keep believing that Facebook is the only means of you getting things out. If you keep thinking that these big tech companies like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are the only means of getting your information out, you're doing something wrong here. Yes, the Parler was knocked down by big tech. Yes, they were. But you now have many of other companies out there. You've had Rumble out there for years now. Rumble, where you can share your information. See, the problem is we keep getting angry with big tech, but where do we keep coming back to? It's like a drug. Do you realize that many of us who are angry about the censorship from big tech still keep coming back to big tech because it's like an electronic social crack for us? Or a social meth? Depending on your nature and your persuasion. So, social catnip? Or even social Ajax. Oh my goodness, I had this one buddy, his name is Jesse. Oh, this kid I grew up with back in my hometown, and he was just known for just some crazy he just known for his just snaps, his words that he would just turn around and just start busting out on people. And it was just really funny. But I love this one where this one day we were playing kickball at the elementary school His name I won't tell you because of the fact that that's a security question. And I remember this one day, we're all sitting there playing kickball, and he just says, "Your mother gets high on sniffing Ajax." I was like, "What?" And we just all started laughing. So between Ajax and catnip and crack and meth, whichever one you want, social media is your high for that stuff. Yeah, it's just, yes, the more that the Spirit of the Lord is lifted from the earth, the worse it's going to get. Most definitely. And see, here's the crazy part about it, though, is think about the retaliation in the church. Do you recognize that a lot of the individuals, that woman who basically said earlier about the whole idea of dreaming about shooting white people in the head, that's actually a message in word and phrase that's on the hearts of a lot of black people who go to church. Yes, it's true. It's true. It's true. Some of you would get the reference, but it's just the whole idea that I'm trying to help you understand. The level of hatred and malevolence is there, and they keep calling it wokeness. They keep calling it just wokeness. They feel like they're liberated. Liberation theology, all it's doing is removing the restraints, the social and moral restraints, the ethical restraints that we have placed on us to prevent us from carrying off in an unloving pattern and behavior with our neighbors. See, when the word of God says love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbors as yourself, liberation theology is now striking down the second rule, actually striking down the first and the second rule, because what it does is it's turning around and saying in liberation theology, as I'm freeing myself from the bonds of social constructs created by the white man, I'm going to raise myself to be God and basically determine what is right, what is wrong, and what favors me to my best. And in the midst of this, I will turn around and assign wrongage to those who don't look like me, those who don't bow down and worship me. I mean, think about this. You had a teacher in California basically saying, if you don't subscribe to critical race theory, you will be fired. You should be fired. This is the language from the people telling you that everyone should be liberated and free. But you have to be liberated and free to follow me. There's only one follow me statement that truly is liberty indeed. And that's when Jesus says, follow me. Free from the bonds of sin, free from the control of sin, free from the damnation of sin. Jesus is the only person who has the right. God is the only one who has the right to say, follow me. When the Holy Spirit touches our hearts and says, follow me. Oh my goodness. I saw this last week. I mean, this is because it has to go back to, I gotta play these things again from Yug. War is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. The Theory and Practice of Oligarchical Collectivism, 1984, George Orwell. I actually found that book as I was organizing things this past weekend, and it takes me to the next story. It's like living in Palestine. Minneapolis is renamed Murderopolis, as children of under-policed city pay the price in blood for violence that has skyrocketed since the death of George Floyd. 1 year after the death of George Floyd saw Minneapolis become ground zero for the defund the police movement. Its people are paying for it in their blood. Daily Mail had visited Minneapolis last week to find a city under siege and under police amid a troubling surge in gun violence that is now claiming the lives of young children. Trinity Addison Smith, 9. Anaya Allen, 6. Devion Jarrett, Jr., 10, was shot in 3 separate occasions across the city in 3 weeks. Trinity, Anya died from their injuries while Devion remains in the hospital. And on Thursday, violence and flames erupted in Minneapolis once more following news that police had shot dead a black man wanted on a warrant. Now think about this. Think about this. The shooting in, what was it, Georgia? Where the black guy tries to run over police with his car because he doesn't want to adhere to a warrant. There was another one. Oh my goodness, I saw one. I can't even show this one because even just talking about the news story drives me up the wall. Or do I have it in here? Do I have it in here? Oh, no, it's not in here. I can't share this one. Well, there's a story of a black man getting pulled over by police, and he had a baby in his car. So when he stopped after the spikes in the street started to render his car useless, he takes the baby out of the car and throws it at the police to try and get away. He takes a baby and throws it at... See, people aren't going to be annoyed. Maybe if I should say it this way. He had a chihuahua, or he had a pug, and he threw the pug at the police. Will that make you angry? Well, he had a little baby. He had a bald eagle, and he threw that at the police. Will that make you angry? It was in Florida. Yes. Black man. Now, again, it happens with whites. It happens with Hispanics. It happens with everyone. And the reason why I sit here talking about the idea of medical and social castrations is that we've been injecting ourselves with a lot of toxins that have been basically removing, and diminishing our inhibitors to downright insanity. We have been injecting ourselves with toxins that have been medically, socially, psychologically, spiritually, and emotionally decapitating, or what's the word for it? Let's see. You have this. What's the procedure? 8 days after you're born, for men, is the snip circumcision. So as we get the snip, that a lot of the things that we have been bringing into our society, bringing into our homes, bringing into our minds, bringing into through our TVs and everything like that, bringing in through our politics, bringing in through even in our churches under the guise of wokeness, under the guise of liberation theology and critical race theory and equality. What they've been doing is they've been doing snip on our conscience, snip on the inhibitors that have prevented us from taking that final step into utter tyranny. And Kathy, she says lobotomy. Yeah, because lobotomies pretty much bring about zombies. Yes, a medical term, snip. Yes, it is, Tim. Lobotomy, yes, lobotomy and circumcision, because I will leave that one alone. I'm gonna step away from that comment. Woo. There's so much more I could say right now, but I'm just gonna move on to the next thing. Here you go. New York City. New Yorkers are afraid to leave their homes. The Guardian Angels warned New York City is returning to dangerous days of the 1980s as the vigilante crime fighting squad steps up patrols in Chinatown following sucker punch attack by homeless man. The Guardian Angels have increased patrols across New York City neighborhoods as crime continues to soar. The organization was first established back in 1979 with volunteers working to protect nervous New Yorkers on the city subways and streets. The crack cocaine epidemic fueled a surge in muggings and assaults during the 1980s and 90s before crime eventually decreased. In 2010, many wondered whether a Guardian Angels were necessary as attacks subsided and the cities felt safe. But now members say that New York City is returning to the dangerous days of past decades, with murders and assaults skyrocketing in the past year. Many Bill de Blasio's bail reforms that allow violent offenders to be released back onto the street. Yes, we're now bringing back. See, here's the funny part about it is the term guardian angels. Take care, Lisa. Vasectomy, that's a good one. My wife says vasectomy. Or even a hysterectomy. For a lot of people they need a bradiotomy. I'm just making up words here. But look at this right now, the term guardian angels. We understand that angels serve a role of protection. In a culture, in a society, with all the violence and everything taking place, we understand that angels serve their place in protecting the defenseless. We understand that when things get crazy, we need angels to be keeping watch over things going on. Why does crime have to rise in order for us to bring out the angels? Why do we have to wait for it to get so bad? Why do we have to wait for things to get so bad before we respond? We should always be on alert. None of this should catch us off guard. And I'm going to tell you, the people I feel worse for, the people that my heart weeps for and breaks for, are the people who can't afford to leave. The ones who can't afford, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, I don't care. I don't care your sexual persuasion. There are people who want to get out of these cities. There are people who want to leave, but they can't. They don't know, or they have no idea. They have no picture of hope of anything else or any life different. They can't just pick up and leave. Because one, they feel anchored to the things that they have in their small apartments, in their ghetto apartments, in their place in the projects, or their place in the trailer park. And they don't feel comfortable leaving that stuff behind because it's their life's belongings. And sometimes we just got to pick up and leave. I remember when I left New York 25 years ago. 25 years, 1 month, and 2 days ago. And everybody's like, why you go to Indiana? I only had 2 friends out here. Buddy that I worked with in a restaurant for almost 10 years, and his wife, who was born and raised here in Indiana. Those are my only 2 friends. Picked up and I moved 800 miles from what I'd known almost 25 years of my life. Yeah, old man. Yes, I am an old man. But you sit here and you wonder, why is our society devolving? I tell you, our society is devolving because of the fact that we keep expecting that, as was said earlier, keep pushing God out, things will get worse. We keep thinking that we could do this thing without God, and I'm telling you, we can't. We cannot. Society will and cannot function without the sovereign hand of God guiding us, directing us, and blessing us. It only gets worse, though. Guardian angels in New York. Before I even say this, though, the next story. Kathy left 16 years ago. Praise God. Glad you left. Ooh. Jen Leah Butler. Complacency comes in comfort zones. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Comfort zones. But see, here's the problem about that, though, with the comfort zones is those comfort zones are normally like Vietnam, normally like Afghanistan, normally like, just a disaster area. But it's what we raised in, and we don't know anything else. We don't know anything different. And it's sad. Folks, we should be praying for our neighbors. We should be praying for our neighbors that they'd wake up. This is insane about how bad it's getting. So much so I sorrowfully take you to this next story. Female Amazon delivery driver, 21, tells complaining 61-year-old woman, customer to check her white privilege, then viciously beats her after being called a bitch in a feud over a delayed package. Itzel Ramirez was arrested for a vicious assault on a Bay Area woman, 67. Ramirez, an Amazon delivery driver, drove packages to the woman's door Thursday. Witnesses said that the package delivery to the woman's apartment was delayed. She waited 15 minutes for the package before asking Ramirez when it would arrive. Ramirez is alleged to have responded by criticizing the women's white privilege. You don't need to be a bitch about it, woman allegedly told Ramirez in reply, and enraged Ramirez then pins woman up against glass and throws punches. One is believed to have suffered a broken nose and other visible injuries. Ramirez is jailed on $100,000 bail. So as we sit here watching this stuff here, why be in the big cities? Well, why be in the big cities? Well, those are the job opportunities. It's time to actually start revitalizing these small towns. Don't just move to the small towns in the rural areas just so you can drive an hour to the big cities. Try and create a business in the small towns. Start revitalizing the industry in those small towns. Even as I struggle, I want to turn around, and I'll probably be, we will have to travel. We want to be out in the country. And right now, if we could build up businesses where we were going to move to, I want to do that. I want to build up the mom and pop stores around where I would live. I want those convenience stores to be more successful than Walmart. Bring back the stationary small stores. Oh my goodness, I remember the ones that I grew up with. Long before there was a Staples, long before there was an Office Max, long before there was an Office Depot. This store's long and gone now, but I loved it. It was Tears and Gershon on Post Avenue in Westbury. And I love that store. It's no longer there. Wonderful mom and pop store. It was old school. A wall to wall of supplies. Oh, it's a beautiful experience. We got to bring that stuff back, folks. We have to bring this stuff back. I love what Renee just said. She said, if you're mad because I'm white, basically you're mad at God because he created me. Amen. Amen. See, that's my issue with blacks who want to be angry at white people. And you call yourselves Christians. No wonder you're fleeing away from the faith. No wonder you're denouncing God, because you're mad at him that he created white people. Acts 17:26 says that God establishes the borders and periods of everyone. So God is the one who allows whites, blacks, Hispanics, gays, straight, whoever, to have stuff and not have stuff. Take your stuff up with God. Oh, you can't beat him up. You can't pillage his stuff. You can't sucker punch God. So you go to the next thing that you can get your hands on. And talk about retaliations. I thought this one was really interesting. Biden deploys controversial facial recognition app to track asylum seekers as part of a smart border strategy. But privacy advocates cry foul, and migrant crisis continues unabated. Asylum seekers are encouraged to submit a biographic and biometric information through the CBP One app to Customs and Border Protection. It would allow Border Patrol to verify their information when they cross the border with the geolocation and cloud technology. Wait, didn't California shoot down a lot of different programs about facial recognition? Never mind, let it go. Attitude of gratitude. B4FAOG@gmail.com. Share me your beautiful story, because I want to cover something really interesting. I'm going to do this one quickly here. This is a video. Of a mother. Texas mom was arrested for posing as her 13-year-old daughter and attending classes all day to prove the weakness in the middle school security. Cassie Garcia, 30, was arrested for criminal trespassing after posing as her 13-year-old daughter and attending an entire day of classes at her middle school. And you're saying this is a weird attitude of gratitude. Okay, here's the reason why I'm sharing this as an attitude of gratitude. Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Cassie Garcia. I appreciate what you've done. Now, I don't celebrate the idea of law breaking, but I want us to be mindful that when we think our kids are protected, our systems are overwhelmed to allow anything to happen. Reevaluate. The reason why I'm grateful for this crazy story is I want us to take notice that the security that we believe is there in place to protect the people that we love is not as secure as we believe. And if someone wanted to retaliate in that school, Cassie just showed how easy it is to infiltrate the school and destroy. Get rid of the masks and start getting back to common sense. I'm your host, Watson Prunier for Battle4Freedom on Mojo 50 Radio. I appreciate every last one of you. Take care, be blessed, and watch out for the rising retaliations.